Welcome to the Clean Power Hour Live. It's Friday, May 16th, breaking down the latest in solar storage and other clean energy technologies on a bi-weekly basis with my co-host, John Weaver. Welcome back, John.
Hey, Timothy, nice to see you. I went to InterSolar in Europe. It was really cool. I went to
And
Iceland.
Iceland, right?
I went to Iceland as well.
Wasn't
That was
Iceland
pretty cool.
cooler?
Yes, absolutely. Uh, in many ways. So I'm gonna go back to Iceland now for like a week and do it properly. Now that I got the proper sizing and tasting of the place, it's really close to where I live. I live in Boston. It's like boop, boop. You know,
It's true. It's not a bad flight.
yeah. Just go right over the hill. Sort of, kind of is the way I was saying it to myself because the Earth is
Yeah.
round. Whatever.
You could stop
Uh,
off on Greenland on your way if you wanted to. I got to see the south coast of Greenland on our flight back from Iceland last year. I went to Iceland for a week, and Greenland looked really rugged and mountainous and icy. The ocean was all icy around Greenland, not the case in Iceland. You know, they're opposites, right? Greenland is more icy, Iceland is more green. It was a marketing ploy by Eric the Red, I believe, right? That
all
crazy
right.
Viking who got banished to Greenland and then had to recruit a bunch of Icelanders to come to Greenland.
When I flew back, we did a layover in Iceland. I did on the way over is when I stopped in Iceland, but I caught a picture of the largest glacier, the one that's on the east southish side of the
Yeah.
island, and
And
I
I'll
got a
give you
great picture
$10
of
if
it.
you can pronounce the name.
Yeah, V, and at the end it says and, so Vakashlakadand. I have no idea. I can't even remember it because I didn't try. It went nowhere into my brain. It just started with the letter V. There were like 12 letters, and it was
It's
pretty cool looking.
it's got to be one of the craziest languages I've ever seen. Icelandic.
I
It's
like
an
it.
Old Norse language, but it's funky. It's cool.
I think it's cool. Yes, it
A
was
lot of
nice.
V's and
Lots of fish.
Y's and the food was really good too. I remember that. And
I think that
expensive.
yes, everything was expensive. The I had the hot dogs, which were great, just because they were like Icelandic hot dogs. I hope they were cool, and fish. I had lots of good fish, so I was happy with eating fish. Those were my goals.
There might be
And
some horse meat in those hot dogs. No, I no, not many people know this, but Icelandic people eat horses.
all right,
Out of
well,
necessity, like historically, right? Like the horses could survive, and so you ate them. Cows don't survive so well. They did have cow. They do have cows too, of course, but
I saw more sheep. I don't think I remember seeing any cows.
a lot of sheep. A
Yep,
lot of sheep. Yeah.
yep. But that's what I thought the hot dogs were made out of. But who knows?
You never know with a hot dog.
That's
So what
that's what
about
a hot dog is. Yeah, sorry.
what about InterSolar? How was that?
InterSolar was cool. I guess the super high level thing is I need to get better at batteries. I have a couple of links to articles I wrote on it. We could cover later if we want. We could cover it now. Um, it was getting pretty big. There's 18 rooms, and each room is a giant conference hall. 100 feet by 200 feet or something, some giant room. And now there's 18 of them full. The first six are focused on solar. The next row of six, like the first four, were batteries, and then other stuff near batteries, and then like in the next row, like three or four were battery related. So charging, mobility, house control systems, um, things like that. So like battery adjacent. So one could argue the conversation it's now more space is dedicated to non-pure solar racking inverters.
Mm-hmm.
There's at this conference a third at the most was pure solar. Could have been more. There could have been more racking, but for purpose of being entertaining on the show, um, that's what I would say.
But so do you think this is just like a natural trend that, solar and batteries is like the core, and then we spread out into electrification of transportation, EV everything, EV charging, and then also all this other stuff around controlling the built environment, using your building as a battery, basically. Is that how RE Plus is going to be too? I guess it already is.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the midst of the battery revolution. Like we're in the midst of that funky spot on the curve where it like, and I was showing this to somebody like I'm wondering what the document's going to say next year from Bloomberg, BNEF. Because every year they do the global price of batteries, and like 2 years ago it was like 165. Then it fell to 144. But then with COVID, it jumped back to 155. Then last year it went down to like 134. This year it's going to go like 100.
Yeah.
So, oh, this is the battery, more battery focused one. Yeah, the cow poop. That was funny. So
What is the story with the cow poop though? I don't get it.
yeah, so we'll go to it. You can scroll down really fast to it. It's within here. It just shows a guy dressed up as a cow. But really, what their product is, Evermore. So they make subcomponents within batteries, and one of them needs a nice pure carbon as its output. And I
Uh,
think what is the process? What is the binder? So binder material, anode binder material. I hope I did it right. It wasn't cathode versus the anode, but it was binder material that they make, and they were finding that specifically cows that eat grass
mhm.
put out a product that might be 50% cheaper to get than and it's just one subcomponent of many. So it's not like 50%,
Yeah.
it's going to drop the battery 50%. It's going to
Yeah.
drop quarter of a percent. But whatever it is, it's coming from cow poop, hopefully, because I want to write that story in the future. So now this is the more story that matters is right above it.
Tenor?
Yes, sir. This is a 9 megawatt hour battery. It's a two-piece battery, actually. If you notice, you can see there's two chunks of container there. They're
Yeah, stacked
stackable.
containers, right? Two 20-foot
Yes,
containers stacked.
but they depend upon each other to exist. They are not single existent units. That is one unit. It's
Yeah.
a 20-foot container footprint, but it's taller.
Well, there's usually
The
like batteries and then CPS. I mean, yeah,
I
or
think these
PCS,
go.
sorry, power control system. Is
I think
that
they're
the case? Like
vertical.
batteries or
I think they're vertical with battery packs being pullable, and then in the center, there's
mhm,
lots of control systems. So each one of these
yeah.
things are open. There may be battery packs on each row, but that's part of their magic. So that unit is an ultra dense unit from the leading company, CATL. If I were to go to
Mhm,
China, I'd want to go hang out at their factory and just
yeah.
stare and hang out with their R&D people and see what kind of cool stuff they're doing. Um, and so batteries. This is neat too. I like this a lot. This was a creative implementation of a multi-car system that has a
Mhm,
5 item bill of materials. Now you
mm,
may need like 88 of them, but
mhm,
for installing this, there are
yeah.
5 items.
So
I
it's
was
like a
like, oh,
modular EV charging where they're putting the plug close to the parking spot kind of a deal.
absolutely. Up to
Yeah.
20, no, technically up to like 53 cars per row, but they definitely won't be getting a full charge. And it has smart charging. He was telling me how in the cold, you can't really charge a battery at a low rate because once you start trying to charge it, it's key that you warm it. And warming it costs a certain amount,
Mhm,
but the rate of charging, if it's too slow, it won't warm it enough. So then it pulls up more. So he said 4 kW is this base number. So if you, let's say you have like 10 cars, you would think, oh, let's charge them all at 2.2. No, it won't even work. You'll actually lose energy. You
mhm,
have to, and they're based, I think, in Sweden. You have to, in the Nordic environments, program them to charge at least 10 per unit, 15 per unit, maybe even all 22, so that the heating cost actually goes down from the process of charging at a high rate. So instead of spending 4 kW, it only charges at 1 kW because you're like, boom. So there's some
And
nuance. It
this
was
is
interesting
a
to learn.
company called Amp Society, one word. Oh,
Amp
except
Society.
society is misspelled in your article.
Look at that, man.
I
But
just
if you look
caught
at
a
the,
typo.
thank you. You're hired, Tim. Tim.
Uh,
Yes.
all
So
right.
it's,
So we're looking at John's story. We'll put the link in the show notes, of course, in
yep.
May 8th in PB Magazine about his trip to InterSolar. He saw some cool scooters also. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
shortage of cool scooters in the world. Um, I
That
mean,
was so pretty though. Just looking at it was gorgeous, but fine, I guess.
I don't know, man. A curved, I guess you're sitting on it mostly. Is it meant to be
Yeah.
standing or sitting?
I don't know. You could stand on it, but it looks
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, it definitely
The
looks
the
cool.
rims were neat. The rims were like sweet looking. I guess maybe I was just like, oh, I don't have a cool scooter in my life, Tim. I got a bicycle. It's old. It's beat up. It's got lots of
Yeah.
safety tape on it, so I don't get hit by a car.
Well, you need a scooter, John. That's
Scooter would
all
be
there's
cool.
to
I could take
it.
a date on a scooter.
You did another story. I don't know. Is
Oh, I did two of them. Yeah, so we could do this one fast. Those are sodium batteries, Tim. The world is thinking about moving from lithium to sodium, and there are real life sodium batteries existed, installed, and running. They're probably twice as expensive and have 1/5 of the life of a current lithium, which is pretty badass these days. But I don't know, 1/5 is right, maybe half. But they're out there, and
and
they
where's
believe the.
ASON from?
I believe this is an Australian group.
Okay.
Uh, Breakdancer. Tim,
Yeah,
Tim, can you break dance?
definitely not. Um, I did.
You see the sun grow guy in the back? Wait, spin it one more time. Sorry, everybody. We're watching some dude break dance on his hands. In case you're listening, there's a sun grow sign, so we're getting them some advertising. Wait, no, Tim. Do you work with Sungrow? Or is it no? You work with CPS.
I work with
CPS.
CPS, but
I
yeah,
stopped by.
it wasn't very good branding for SunGrow, I have to say.
Ah,
Uh,
good for me. So ASON, that's cool battery. Um, those are pretty neat because some of them were over 20% efficiency. So we're looking at a green, a blue, and a goldenish flexible solar panel. And they're, colored panels now,
mhm.
aesthetics. You could, if those things were right price, you could just hang them like a giant flag or something. I don't know. You could do something cool with that. They're above 20%. They don't have to be perfect anymore. I mean,
Your
those things.
Honergy, Your Honergy is the name
Oh
of this
yeah,
company.
yeah. It
Orange,
wasn't.
green, blue, dark green. Huh.
Yeah. So flexible
What
solar
is the PV
panels.
technology? Do you know?
Oh no, I don't. I don't know if I asked. I think I just went straight for the efficiency and I didn't care.
Yeah.
Uh, Maybe click on it. See if we can zoom in on that module. See if it says like perk or something. But we could poke around and find out if we wanted. Um, yeah, it was neat. My biggest happiness was seeing a colored product, a colored flexible product, well over 20%. I thought that
Yeah.
was the kicker of that. It's like, wow, this has some aesthetic potential and it's
Yeah.
well over 20%. So that's
Yeah,
pretty
you
cool.
could see cladding a building in that stuff, right?
Yes, yes. And didn't you have a friend who's an architectural guy, architectural solar person? Not a friend, but a company you're working with?
Yeah, back in the day, that was a couple years ago.
All right.
I
Well,
can't
see,
remember who
that's,
that was.
oh, goodness. But they're out there. They're out there.
The project died on the vine, but
Oh, I'm thinking of a different person that's I consulted with. So they're out there.
what
There's
about the Wind Cube? What is this?
the Wind Cube shoots lasers. So out of that little thing on the
Oh, to
top.
scare away the birds?
No, no, this is to pick up pieces of dust that represent wind movement. And they
So
know
it's measuring the wind?
it's essentially it's measuring the wind by shooting lasers to pick up dust. And its purpose is pretty cool. It's a local hard data tool. So it's a six-figure system that gets implemented on the leading edge of a smaller plant or spread amongst a larger plant
Yeah.
that figures out what wind is about 10 to 15. Do I say 5 to 10 or 10 to 15? There's a specific number he gave me. A 5 to 10 minute advanced warning
Yeah.
against potentially damaging winds. So that's its
Oh.
purpose. That's its purpose of existence.
In relation to solar farms?
Yeah. So you have your
Oh,
wind radar stuff, which will give you a broader
yeah.
picture when hail or heavy wind are coming. And then when you want to like know if that wind is exactly hitting your site in the
Mm-hmm.
next 5 to 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
put this fellow What they said is put it at the prevailing wind corner or in that area. And
Yeah. I don't understand why this is just like a digital weather station instead of a traditional weather station, because all these solar farms have weather stations also.
correct. But this one, I think the fact that they have the laser lets it pick up the dust particles
Yeah.
further versus an on-site spinner. But I didn't really ask aggressively on that one. I just said, okay, so this ties into the standard SCADA because he had one right there, and so they
Yeah.
do both. But this one, that's what he pitched on. Its purpose is to give you a 5 to 10 minute lead time on the oncoming wind, and so I think that's the key. So
Yeah.
pretty cool piece of gear.
All
Looked
right.
neat. It
And
looked
then
cool.
solar
That's what
cleano.
matters. And well,
I
the
talked
coolest
to
thing
these
about this,
guys. I talked to
yeah,
these guys once, solar cleano. Remotely. I haven't talked to them in their booth. I'm skeptical about this. I have to be honest. But anyway, solar cleano, tell us about it.
so this is an arid region automated overnight
Yeah.
cleaning system.
That thing we're looking at is a robot.
Yes.
It looks a little unwieldy, but
I don't know, big clunky robot. That's maybe the easiest type of robot.
yeah.
Got a
So
battery. I think in
it's
those.
gonna drive down the rows of panels and clean them.
Yes.
With a dry brush or a wet brush.
This is a dry brush. So this
Yeah.
is for arid regions. Apparently, you can't use a dry brush in other regions because the humidity starts to have an effect pretty quickly. Uh, they also, you can do it with a wet brush through this system because I asked that question.
Yeah.
However, they said you got to have a vehicle following it because
Right.
it's not strong enough to pull water at this power level. So in the daytime, if you have it cleaning, that it's solar powered and it works. And they said you might want to have the batteries full, but it can knock out a couple megawatts in the daytime,
Mm-hmm.
and 3, 4, 5, 10 without using any with being pure solar. He gave me
Yeah.
some numbers. I put the numbers in the thing. So 3 megawatt brush can do up to 5 megs, or three
Yeah.
meter brush can do up to 5 megs, and the larger one can do up to 10 megs.
And where's solar
Oh.
cleano from? What country?
One of those countries in that union of Europeans.
The Baltic?
No, I don't know.
Mm,
You have to
no
click on the
worries.
internet and find out.
No worries. Anything else
Visit
about InterSolar we should talk about? We should probably move on, but if there's anything
beer.
else,
There's always
beer.
good beer. There's always good beer to
How,
be had.
how was the beer?
The beer was wonderful. I have an appreciation for like a 5% Pilsner, I guess is what it is. Just got
Oh,
a great taste. Weiner, I don't know. There's a Weiner beer. I don't know. Somebody, the guys who I was with from PV Magazine knew exactly what to order. So I had some good beer. I was very happy.
yeah. Is this the same? Then you found this vertical low profile solar. Is this the same one that we reported on before?
Yes, sir. It looks like it's evolving too with new cell types into half-cut
Yeah.
cells,
Yeah.
which is kind of neat.
Solico. It was Norwegian, I think, right?
Well, I think Solico. So I think Solico is the distributor, and I think
Oh,
Solon might be the product. But I'm
okay.
confused by that actually because I actually switched it. Here, if you scroll down, oh, never mind. There's a magazine there where it shows, and you can zoom in on the magazine, and it has the name of the product, Solon, I believe. So good product. I liked it. There was a lot of things there. My biggest emotion is that I should learn a lot about batteries, learn how to build some batteries, learn how to research some batteries, because
Yeah,
that's the next solar, so to say. And
for
then
sure.
solar plus storage is the next solar and the next storage, solar plus storage. So we got to get good at all those. And I think
I
pushing through
think
battery.
I think
Yeah.
solar installers are going to be installing more batteries than solar in the next 5 years. And it's one of these tipping point things where you don't see it coming. And then it's all batteries.
I like your
Um,
hopefulness that we're going to be installing in 5 years.
yeah. Well, if we're not installing in 5 years, what are we doing?
We're fighting the war.
Drinking beer?
We're freedom, man.
Oh
3 to
my
more.
goodness. Yeah,
Coming.
right.
Hopefully not.
Yeah,
Keep
right.
working, Tim. Keep working. How's the pickleball business, Tim? The your fans want to know, Tim. How's the pickleball business?
It's coming slowly,
All
very
right.
slowly. I am still a developer, but man, I'm taking my lumps.
All
Um,
right. All right.
it's a risky business.
Understand.
I've got skin in the game and risk on the table, but I'm still hopeful that the project is going to see the light of day. So, all
Well, it
right.
wouldn't be investing if it wasn't some risk there. So,
Yep, yep. Should we talk about what's going on in Washington or the
yes.
Hopedale project or
I
DC?
mean, yeah, let's go well, let's do the hotel project just so we have something like positive and nice to talk about.
Yeah,
And then we can talk
let's
about DC and, deal with
let's
our
do that.
emotions.
So our project of the week is Hopedale, and this is a carport by Commercial Solar Guy. Looks like.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Can you see our beautiful pictures? We saw the pictures today. I think this was the construction manager visiting 2 days ago, checking in on stuff. And it just looks so nice and bright of a location. And
Yeah.
it was like, oh, look at that. And it's a parking lot. It's been a parking lot for many years. When we
Mm,
dug it up, there was something underneath it. We found like building pipes. So maybe it was a building before. No idea. And now
yeah.
it's like a hunt club. And look at that sunlight and look at that carport. And, we're going to start. You can see in the back, if you see all the way in the back in the center, it looks like just thicker gray, but that's actually us starting to do the purlins, the structural cross beams at the beginning, because we're done with putting the big steel in the ground and the
Yeah.
foundations in the ground. And so now it's the time to lay the top layers, and it just looks nice. It was a beautiful image, and
Who's
this is
the racking manufacturer?
this is Solar Mounts based out of Michigan. Big chunky flexible system. Key detail we learned is that you have to drill holes. They give you flexibility in that your modules can move, but that means they're not machine punching the holes for modules in the factory. So you got to
Hmm.
have the hours budgeted for that process.
Oh,
And but you learn. You learn. You get the tool. You get your technique. Start hammering.
yeah.
And it's just nice looking. I was just happy with the color of the sky, the look of the steel, the progress. This was actually so our prior project, we took we filled up 110% of our excavation budget plus some because we had
Hmm.
flooding, which was fair for us to deal with. But then the other half was that the ground surveys didn't catch the ledge at the rate that we hit ledge. We expected to have some, so we had the machine on, but of the
What do you mean
tire,
ledge?
certain rock that has to be broken with a big machine over
You
a
mean
long
you
period of time.
mean rock under the ground?
Yeah, but ledge, I believe, is a certain type. Um,
Oh,
yeah, so Patrick,
so
who's the smart
that was painful because
it,
you had to drill it. John Weaver, professional jackhammer. Nice.
big machine. We broke it once. We had to fix it. But yeah, it was nice.
Yeah.
So it's a nice chunk of stuff. So
So if
that's our
everything
project
else
week.
goes well, when will this project see electricity on the grid?
September in Lucky World, October. Because
Yeah.
we have to do some medium voltage work. The utility has already done their interconnection. We got to do some transformers. We got to do a pad. It's going to take a while to put 690 kW of modules up when we're drilling holes for all of them because it's just X amount of hours to put that up. Um, so yeah, so I think we should be done. It could be touching the grid in, and what I mean by that, switches can be thrown for it to test systems, maybe in June, July, and then it'll be a couple months of paperwork. So Q3 is probably the hard goal, and there is a hard goal, and I'm envisioning it end of September for mechanical completion, but I
Hmm.
think it's earlier than that for
Hmm.
reality. But we'll see. There's always something. There's always a component that's late, component that's early. Just gotta push through the projects.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about DC. I mean, there's a lot going on. The IRA is under attack. There was a deal made between China and the US on tariffs. We'll talk about that too. But in DC, and Canary Media is reporting on this, there is a bill that is going to potentially decimate the IRA. And the good news is that you reported today, right, that this has been shot down temporarily.
Temporarily.
Yeah. So this story in Canary Media, the title is GOP budget plan contains a massive poison pill for clean energy. And the thing in this story that really stands out is that the IRA encouraged $321 billion in domestic clean energy projects. And now that is at risk, right? And there was another 522 billion pledged by the private sector. Now, if the GOP lead bill goes through, this could disrupt much of this economic development. And this includes factories, right, John? It's solar panels, batteries, EV charging infrastructure, all kinds of factories, and then also projects. I think it's a both and, right? That
Yeah.
are
So
using
first,
these tax
yeah,
incentives.
yeah. So first off, though, this article, let's there's two things we should talk about. One is this within the IRA. So the reconciliation bill version was put out by the House. One version of it. And I don't know if it's gone to the floor, but it's coming out of different departments. And I think this bill was one vote against one piece of it. I'm not certain, where we talked about the vote against it today. But when we talk about this poison pill, let's talk about that first. So the poison pill says that no project can receive federal funding, essentially, that has hardware that comes through these groups, these countries. And one of
Mm-hmm.
them is China, one of them is Russia. And here's the nuance where it gets to be unusable slash poison pill. It's that the way the language is put in, it allows for the government to force you to verify all subcomponents and all of their supply
Yeah.
chain paths.
Yeah.
And that right there is the key unworkableness, because
Yeah.
right now what's happening with that is the UFPLA, the Uyghur protection
Yeah.
documentation that is pushing against China. It's easier to manage there because you're just talking silicon and then wafers and then cells. But if you think about an inverter and all the places that has to come from and what stack of paperwork you would need to get through customs, and then customs has to approve it. So it's not like by default approved. They have to be like approved. And so it's going to cause challenges, and we're going to see. We're going to see if that exists. So that's the first time, is dealing with that, this foreign thing. And then I don't know if you noticed, but at the same time, Reuters just came out with a story saying they found shutdown devices in Chinese inverters.
Yeah. Did they name the companies?
Of course not. They didn't name the people who said it either. Tim, I think it's a lie. Just saying. I think the
Yeah.
game is on, Timothy. I think
Yeah.
there's an attack from the side, and they
Yeah.
have to push the politics. I fully believe that we are literally in the midst of a concerted effort to undercut this. That's too fun of timing. I mean, maybe Reuters decided to hold it, but we'll see. So there's little dance going on. Now here's the second piece about this legislation that was released, and I'm surprised you didn't mention that. This legislation changes the IRA. This legislation makes the IRA
Are you
It
talking
cuts
about the
it.
Canary Media story or the Blue Sky story?
Talking about the Canary Media story. The
Okay.
same legislation that has this freedom, this is just one subcomponent of the broader bill being changed. That I'm the IRA is being changed. This document changes it. Did you know that they're getting rid of the residential solar tax credit as of right now?
Right. That's the big news. I mean, it's both
That's part of
residential
this.
and commercial. So the residential would go away at the end of 2025, and then I think the commercial tax credit would be phased out by 2028.
It starts phasing out in 29. 28's the
Okay.
last full year. Then it
Okay.
starts going phase out. 29 by 20%, another 20% year after year. I don't
Yeah.
think it ever gets to 20% of the tax credit. I think it goes straight from 40. So you got like 29 at 80, 30 at
And
40
let's just
or 60.
remember, we've been here before, right? Where the
Yes,
ITC has been
correct.
phasing out, and
So
so it can come back, but
it can be used, but
it
when
would
you're
be
talking
better
about
if we just didn't phase
investments,
it out in the first place.
yeah, and when we're talking about investments, if these are the factory phase out paying for hardware started to phase out in 29, 30. It wasn't an indefinite paying forever and ever for you to manufacture in the US. It was through the end of the decade. So this might have protected some of the factory interests decently. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
still dancing though. It's not done. It could get hacked more for solar. We could get hurt more.
Yeah.
But there's
But
freedom.
anyway,
Yeah.
there's good news out today, right? That the sweeping bill just failed in the budget committee, 16 to 21. So, um,
Yeah, but
this
who were
hurts.
they?
This hurts red states. To phase out the ITC hurts red states,
Yeah.
and you got to have an economy still, right? As much as you might love what the Trump administration is doing, you got to have jobs and economic growth, and the ITC going away is gonna, as many of those and those other poison pills you mentioned, right? Um, yeah, just crazy. All right, so should we talk about the tariff war?
Yeah, I think that's the one I was paying attention to right now is the battery tariffs because I'm trying my best to pay attention to them. I want to be in the I like the idea of being in the battery space. So tariff war it is, I guess.
I mean, it's good news, right? We've had uh, for a couple of weeks now I think 145% tariff or 135% tariff on things from China. Um, and now there's a 90-day pause on that, so now it's down to 60%, which is good. I mean, it's better. It's way better than what it was. Um, and I mean, I've been talking to my friends at Chint. They make batteries in China, and most of their solar inverters are made in Thailand, I think.
All
Um,
right.
Now we also have tariffs on Thailand, but less than on China.
Yes.
And so anyway, yeah, it was 145% to 30%.
But for batteries it's higher
Yeah.
because for batteries they have other tariffs already in place. I think it's a section 301, section something else, two something. Um, so those two items give me, get us somewhere per the article I shared in the room. If you want me to share it, I can, because I like that website. But
So this story, just for our listeners, this is in Energy Storage News. U.S. and
yes,
China put 90-day pause on tariffs. Effective duty on BESS falls to 60%. And then there's another story. Um,
well
Global average
with
battery pack prices.
well that's the one I wanted to bookend that with, and so the energy storage one. The second item though that they said is that they see tariffs around 40% right now on batteries. Christian Rosalind, who's a good friend of mine, and but he's also an industry expert, for tariff related stuff, but works in DC a lot. He sees the tariff percentage around 65%. So that's why I was wanted to share this cost and imagining what the real effect is if we start getting cheaper battery prices available, and what the real tariff would be and what the effective price would be. Because if we start to say, let's just say our tariff with batteries end up being 65% because of all the sex, because there's other tariffs on batteries, just like there are on solar panels, because of the domestic importance of it. But let's just say it's 65%. And then we look at that list. Do you mind sharing the Goldman Sachs? Oh, there it is. Perfect timing. And we see that in 25, let's say for instance 23, we see 140 to 180, or 160 to 170, or actually that's probably closer to 150. Sorry, 22, 23. Now to
Yeah.
get back to 150-ish.
These are dollars per kilowatt hour.
Dollars per kilowatt hour, yes. And if you look here, it's the whole system. So other components, this is shipping container delivered to port type of thing is my guess. And so to get back to 150, you probably need to be at 80 if your tariff is 65. So 8 times 6 is 48, that's 5. So 8 plus 55 is 135. So if the world is at 80, which is somewhere in 26, maybe,
Yep.
then interesting. Now we know that BYD just did a massive bid that was actually in the 66 range. No, 60 range, but that was for that was a gigawatt hour purchase. That wasn't one shipping container. So 80 is a realistic number in China on the ground right now. Delivered to my warehouse, probably I could get to 85, 100. I don't know. I've never purchased one of these. I want one of those Cato ones. Those things don't exist. So, yeah, I know, taxes. Thanks, Randy. We appreciate it. So if we think about that price per kilowatt hour of where we are right now, I know there are people in the US signing deals for under that 80 number today, and they have 80 globally. That's a global number. That's great. Global average. We know China's below 80. So if there's an entrepreneurial person who's knocking doors downtown Shanghai, working hard, they're getting containers at 70, 75, 80. And if all that's working, they're at COVID era pricing, which is strong, but survivable, I guess. And that's if we hold it 65. So that is my reason for putting all
You're
that out
talking
there.
about 65 on the tariff or 65 on the kWh?
65% as the tariff.
Yeah.
If we hold it 65% for importing batteries into the US, then an 80 kW gets gets you to COVID era numbers.
Yeah, I mean, we have some domestic battery manufacturing going on. Tesla's the biggest one. Good luck getting a Tesla product. That's the challenge. There is a supply chain problem there.
And they're more expensive.
And then you have companies like T1 that are building a battery factory, but if this legislation goes through, they are not going to energize that factory. It ain't happening.
You should ask them their reaction to this. I bet you they might be interested in speaking, getting their voice out there, because they're probably looking at the manufacturer's credits very explicitly. And I think I mentioned this earlier, the manufacturing credits may have been phased out as well from the other side, but to a lesser degree. However, there's another killer in here. Transferability is now getting to be harder, and maybe even phasing out sooner. And the factory people really wanted the transferability. That was a massive driver. 90 cent on the dollar transferability was golden for those folks. So they should be called. They should be on the show, Tim. Give them a ring. Want to call them right now?
Well, I used to know the CEO, but then they fired him.
Well, shit.
So I don't have a contact there anymore.
All right. Well,
it's originally a Norwegian. It's a Norwegian company, but they've just announced that their new U.S. headquarters is going to be in Texas, Austin, Texas. And yeah, they bought a Trina solar panel factory, a 5 gigawatt Trina solar plant. So
So
now
that's
they're a
this
solar
company.
and battery company.
Yes. And I think they laid off. They had a Georgia battery facility they were thinking about constructing in Georgia,
Is
and
Georgia not happening?
I I think there's a chance they slowed down a bit on that.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I don't know. I don't know much. There's not a lot I know.
Yeah, I've had a couple, and then there's a company called American Battery Factory,
I think I've seen them floating around. There's
building a
a
plant
nice.
in Tucson.
All right. I saw a
And
cool
I need to
company.
get a status update. I need to revisit. 2 years ago, I did a bunch of storage interviews. I didn't do so many last year. I hunkered down into solar last year.
Okay.
I need to pop my head up and do some more storage. So if you're a storage developer, OEM, asset owner, please reach out to me. You can find all this content at cleanpowerhour.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Tim Montague, John Weaver. How the hell can people find you?
Commercialsolarguy.com. Commercialsolarguy.com. We should get a cool jingle, Tim. Clean Power Hour. Dun dun.
We should. In fact, a friend of mine is threatening to write a jingle for me.
There you go.
He's been threatening that for over a year now. So
Now you gotta give him some beer. Beer and $50. You know? Get a rough version out. All right.
all right. Well, I'll
Thank you, Tim.
see you in 2 weeks. And in the meantime, let's grow solar and storage. Take care.